Hello, friends. Have you ever wondered how plants reproduce or where foods like fruits and vegetables come from? Well, let's go on a pollination exploration and find out. So, what is pollination anyway? Well, you've heard of the birds and the bees. Pollination is the first step in plant reproduction. And this is important because pollinated flowering plants produce seeds that grow into new plants. So let's start with the fabulous flowers, which is where pollen comes from. And let me point out that when you see a word that is written in pink, it means that that word is a vocabulary word. So flowers generally have both male and female parts. Let's look at a flower diagram. So we see our flower here, and this is an anther, which is where the pollen is produced, and that is the male part of the flower. And the female part of the flower is the pistil, which is all of this. It's composed of the stigma at the top and the ovary at the bottom, which is where the egg cells are found. So when pollination is the way that pollen gets from the anther to the pistil, down the pistil to the ovary where the egg cells are, and when pollen meets egg, that's when a seed is formed. So let's talk about this potent pollen a little bit more because it seems to be pretty important. Pollen is powder produced by the anthers of a flower, which we just saw in the diagram. Have you ever wondered what pollen looks like close up? Or what about what it looks like stuck all over a bee? Well, pollen has its work cut out for it because in order for pollination to occur, pollen must travel from the anther to the stigma through the pistil to the ovary where the egg cells are. So let's look at this process. An insect carries pollen from one flower to another. The stigma catches the pollen. This is called pollination. The stigma is this part of the pistil at the top. The pollen tube grows down to the ovary. The pollen fertilizes the ovule or the egg cell, and this is called fertilization. The ovules develop into seeds, and the ovary develops into a fruit. And there you can see your apple. So, getting pollen from one flower to another is no easy feat, especially if you're rooted in the ground like plants are. So most plants get help from animals who transfer pollen without even meaning to while they're trying to get food. It's pretty cool. Some common pollinators are bees, butterflies, moths, flies, and hummingbirds. Do you notice any other types of animal pollinators in this image? Do you see the bat and the possum? So let's see what pollination looks like in action. See all that pollen flying around? Pretty impressive, huh? But why should we care about pollination? I mean, what is the big deal? Well, the biggest reason is that 1/3 of all the food we eat comes from pollinated plants, and most of those plants are pollinated by bees. Also, clothes. Are you wearing jeans or a cotton t-shirt right now? Well, without pollination, you would be wearing your birthday suit instead. And what about medicine? Many medicinal plants are dependent on pollination as well. So take a look at all of these delicious foods that you have to choose from at the grocery store, and they're all pollinated. And here we have the produce section of our grocery store, and you can see all the choices that you have with bees pollinating your crops, but let's look at the same produce section without bees fertilizing your crops. You can see that you have a lot less choices. So I don't know about you, but I'll take bees and pollination any day. In fact, let's have a standing ovation for pollination.